I think it's going to be great. I feel good. I feel brighter. You look good. I can see the light in your eyes. It's Monday. We just keep changing things up because why not? Because what else can you do in your life but change up your podcast studio? You're quiet.
I was just thinking about life. I was thinking about the kids. You know, sometimes when like the morning goes so crazy and you're just like, you're getting ready. And then there's always like, is there chocolate on that? Like turn the candle.
That's probably chocolate.
Oh, chocolate.
Or ketchup.
It's always chocolate, ketchup, or poop. And the morning goes so fast. And when I have to blow dry my hair, because I haven't washed my hair in so long, it's like just like an added thing to do. And then you go and you drop off and then you sit and you're like, I don't even remember this morning.
I sometimes have to double check to make sure I dropped everyone off in the right spots.
Yeah.
I'm like, is everyone where they need to be?
I mean, in your case, at least they're all in the same car going to the same place.
So I know, but sometimes I just have to remember who, what, where, when.
Mm-hmm.
It's like who, what, where,
and then you do the first things that you have to do, and then you sit down and you do that, and then it's about like lunchtime that you start to be like, all right, let's look at the schedule.
The afternoon.
For later.
So I want
minute by minute.
I want to talk about something. I had an epiphany this weekend, and you probably saw online on Instagram. So let's just walk through this together because a lot of people were like, yes, I feel this, I hear this.
Mm-hmm.
So I keep getting served news articles and news things of kids on cell phones
mm-hmm.
and how when they get rid of them, how good they feel and all the problems with cell phones.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I think we can all agree
mm-hmm.
that we know cell phones are a problem.
And it's not opinion. Like statistically, we know that what our children have been given, this access to their phones, is not good for lots of things, but for sure their mental health, which is what you and I are the most, that's
concerned
what I care
about
the most.
So I feel guilty. I feel defensive because I don't want that to be the case. I want to be like, no, but that's not my case. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But realistically, we wouldn't know what their mental health would be or who they would be without them. So really we have no argument other than to be like, okay, I hear the statistics because I'm walking through this because there's so many problems with it. So we're as parents left feeling like, well, I'll speak for myself, feeling guilty of even them having the phone for a little bit because it feels like you're giving them something you know is bad.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see things like, well, we knew smoking was bad and we knew this was bad. And, there's this law against suing them for this person because a lot of some parents have gone to try to sue Meta, sue the governments based on knowing that this is bad for the kids, but not doing anything about it. But us as parents realistically could, but we're not. Well, I'm not, let's just say. I am, but I'm not taking it out of their hands. So younger parents are watching us and being probably afraid of even giving their kid a phone. It's become like this thing where you're nervous to even do it.
I feel like they're afraid, and they're also because ever since they've had children, so much research has come out. I feel like they're also like kind of judgmental of the fact that I would say like my family friends, siblings with younger children, when they come to my house and my kids are on their phone, I think that they're just kind of like, not a good idea. It's like they have the knowledge we didn't have when we first started.
Or they've watched a series on Netflix that tells you of how to why you shouldn't give your kid a phone. Everyone's an expert. Okay. So until they're there. So I'm like, we have a problem as parents. No one's telling us what to do. They're just, it's problem. I would say as parents, we have a problem. I think universally we're all on our phone too much. We all are. It's not just them, but we want to blame them, making the relationship between us and them tumultuous because we just want to be like, get off your phone. Like you want to just yell at them, get off their phone while parents are on their phone. Now, if we were to be really honest with ourselves, everybody, if you were to think how much easier it is with the phone because it is quiet, it gives them a distraction. They get to unwind. The phone is an escapism for everybody in the house. And when they're quiet in their room and the house is sort of quiet, it's nice. Like, I'm not going to lie. It's a nice feeling of having them entertained by something because the energy when they're not can be on you. And it's exhausting because now it's your problem. So I'm just being totally honest. This might not be everyone's thing, but like, it's a parenting hack. It's a parenting tool. The phone is a parenting tool.
And then, and at the same time of it being a parenting tool, I think that what we've seen is I also try to like, not just being a tool, but I try to think to myself, I didn't grow up like this. And when it's hard for them to maybe like keep their attention span for a movie, because we used to do so many more all family movie nights. I understand that it takes a lot of concentration for their brains to sit and watch something for an hour when they've been consuming content in seconds, like that their brain isn't wired to sit down and watch a whole movie. That's just not as interesting anymore to them.
No. And I think that, no, it's not as interesting to them anymore. And the content comes out so much faster, and it comes down into like a short story in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
So I was thinking, I'm like, and then I was thinking of our guide, right? So number one, we have this amazing guide where it teaches you the step-by-step of how to put parameters on their phone. You can get it. You don't have to get it. I'm just letting you know, if your kid has a cell phone, get it so you learn every social media app. I don't care what you do with it, but go do it.
Well, and also you can go and do the research and find it out from like a whole bunch of different places. You can go to YouTube, you can go to Google, you can go to websites, but guaranteed that is going to take so long that even as a parent, you're going to be like, this is too confusing and overwhelming. And you might just end up walking away, which is why we sat and did it all. And then we were like, we have to share this because people will always ask us, what do you do? How do you do it? What are the steps? You can't sit there and tutor everybody. So let's make a really simple way that you can cover so many different areas on the phone and put in your parameters. Like, okay, it will take you a really long time.
That's step one. So you can negotiate screen time right off the top. Like, you can be like, you know what, I'm comfortable. So I asked what the reality of screen time was. The honest people were like, am I being honest here? Or am I being I would like it to be? And a lot of people were like, I would like it to be 2 hours. Mm-hmm. It's way more than 2 hours.
And I would say the majority of people, although they actually, a lot of people actually manage the screen time from their kids by telling them to get off and timing them.
Yes.
Instead of understanding the back end of that, you can actually put these settings in, and that you don't need to go and hope that you trusted them. Like,
and my kids don't fight. My son will be like, I don't have any more screen time. Mm-hmm. It's just like he doesn't have any more. Mm-mm. And it's like, it's just kind of a fact. Mm-hmm. So that's one step. Then I realized, I'm like, oh my God, I really began to think in my brain, because I made a conscious effort this weekend to get everyone off their screens and involved in the house. Mm-hmm. And I think that's why chores are probably so important right now, because kids actually need something to do. Because I don't think we've taught them what to do, because the phones have replaced what they should be doing. So everyone's like, boredom's good. I don't think they know how to be bored. Mm-hmm. I think automatically they had something to go in their hands, like all of us. I am fully taking responsibility here as an adult too, that I am on my phone way too much when the kids are around.
I even just think about when I go to the hockey game and I have an hour, if you drop them off an hour early and I have an hour to waste, I was thinking back in the day, you'd get so bored. You have your phone.
You're never bored.
Plane rides. Waiting for anything
no.
is no longer boring.
In the line, the grocery store line.
Anything.
So and it actually drives me crazy. I tell my kids, put your phone down in the car, because you need to learn how to get from point A to point B. I'm like, look around. The world is interesting. Those are easy ways to put your phone away.
Yeah.
So then I thought, maybe we need to do two things, add on to the guide. Not only do they get a free journal, which I think is probably the most important tool you can add into your parenting wheelhouse, because if you give them something that lets them know no matter what they write in here, you will help solve it. You will not get mad at them. And you have to follow through on it. The things that they think are so huge, you would be like, we could have solved this, because they often get themselves into trouble or do things that I don't even want to say, which are, really bad. And
sometimes my kids will say to me, I'm going to tell you this, but you cannot tell anybody. And I'm going to tell you something about this, but you seriously, Mom, you can't say anything. And they tell me, and I think it's going to be huge. Really bad. And then they tell me, and I think to myself, obviously I take it in, but I actually think in my head, you thought that was bad? You thought that was really bad?
I think for some, I've known some cases that you've probably seen in the news or not seen in the news, like sextortion, where they've taken their lives because they're so ashamed of what their parents would think of them and how could this happen to them. And their parents would never dream they would be in something like this. And they've been told never to send a picture, and they've been told never to say this. And they do it, and they see there's no way out.
Yes.
And I think that's the danger with kids, is they see there's no way out. They have no options. They don't know who to go to. They're going to be expelled from school. Like it's the worst for them when we're like, the parents will say, we could have
problem solved that
together. We could
together.
have done this.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been that we really could have done this together, and you wouldn't have had to feel so alone.
Or they get to they sit in silence and they're depressed and they withdraw from everything. So I really think that that's step one. No matter what you do, just do that step one. And then I'm like, maybe we need to create ideas for parents to get back to do with what their kids like, share resources of how we're connecting with our kids, because I think you would think it's so basic. But I think, in fact, all of us have disconnected for so long. It feels and I'm so appreciative everyone's like honesty in DMs, because I think it takes a lot to actually be honest with yourself. Like that we probably do tap out more than we should when our kids are home. Like we probably tap out because it's easier.
Yes.
And someone in DM said, wait, hold on, let me take a quick break. The conversation I was having with you online made them like redial in, and they're like, it's fucking exhausting to dial back in again and actually entertain or parent or do. And I was like, I feel that.
Yeah.
I understand.
It's easier not to.
It is, and everyone seems happy, but so I think that as I was thinking about it, and I texted one of our team members last night on that thing, I'm like, I think we need to add in like either a detox challenge for parents. And I don't mean like get rid of your phone for the entire time, but how to be like conscious with what we're doing to lead by example, because I think we're pointing the finger at these teenagers right now. And if we're all totally honest, I think we're probably the problem too.
Yeah.
And no one's addressing that the adults we're not leading. Like we're not leading our kids anywhere. We just want to get mad at them for having this thing in their hands, but we're not like, hey, so I played like three board games like on one day. I baked muffins.
And guys, sometimes you think like board games or like I haven't actually found a board game I like. So let's say games, because I like to play like other kind of games that don't have a board, because board feels like it's going to be too long.
Sorry's a good one, by the way. It's fast.
Yeah. Okay. I haven't played Sorry in a while. I don't think I have it anymore. You'd be surprised, like, some of them will be like, no. And then when you get going and they're on the peripheral and they see how much fun you're having, even older teenagers will kind of be like, oh, like I want to play. You know, it's like the child in them will come out, like the innocent fun. They want to be involved.
And you don't believe it. You're like, my kid would never. But if you put it, even when I was baking, I'm like, I know I need to bake right now. Like I baked all weekend because I knew they would come into the kitchen and talk and get involved. When you are available, they often will become available. And I think so many parents are like, they don't talk to me, but you're probably on your phone and not available to talk to.
And a lot of people are doing like, even if you're not on your phone, I know there's really a lot of parents whose jobs are really demanding, and when they come home, they still have to work. But I think like time management is important, because if you're always working or you're always on your phone, which I know you're just trying to support your family, they're aware of that as well. The other thing I was just going to say about
being available,
but about chores. Onto that, because chores is how we spent a lot of our time growing up, spent using time, right?
Yeah.
And not only do chores teach you how to be an independent person, to learn how to do things, it makes you have responsibility, and that you're taking part in the team of the family. So one of mine, when he does a chore, he comes to me and he says, say thank you for that, right? And I'm so like, I have to, you can't just go and yell at them and tell them what they're doing is wrong, because obviously he's coming from somewhere. But I really like deeply I'm annoyed with that, because I'm offended, because I'm like, imagine every time I made you dinner, I said to you, say thank you. And every time I drove you anywhere, you said, like, you really appreciated like everything I do. I do so many things for you. Okay. But like, you understand this is teamwork, right? So like,
this is not just for me.
Yeah,
like you're asking me to say thank you for what? For helping the whole family. Like then go tell everyone to say thank you to you.
Yes. And I think he wanted that. And
I think he probably wants acknowledgement that he's the one pulling the load.
Pulling the load.
But I mean, like whatever.
In that moment. And I'm like, if I bought the groceries, like I sat there, I ordered them, I bought them, for me to ask you to put them away. But I just don't think that, because we haven't taught them over the years like I knew when I was doing chores when I was younger that I was contributing to the family.
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling like I was doing my mom a favor.
No.
Right. And I think that's sort of where because we skipped down in so many years of it just being part of which were, it's harder to change it, but it's not too late.
I think also I'm not making excuses for her, but I think the more children you have, it's a really busy house. And I think it's easy to, when everyone's coming and going, it's harder to hold people accountable because they're not in there for long enough for you to be like, hey, like there's no cadence of like the dishwasher every morning you unload the dishwasher. Like there's no time. Like because it's so chaotic. But what I've
and they want it to be even. But like with the dishwasher, every time I would walk into the dishwasher, I go and see, is it clean or dirty? Because I know there's going to be dishes that are about to happen. So does the dishwasher need to be undone? That shouldn't be something that that should be an immediate thing. If you're even going to go into the kitchen and boil water, first check to see where you're going to put that pot after. Is the dishwasher available?
I think it's baby steps because I have to ask them every day to put their stuff away, like in the shoes in the front, because you know the cluster in the front. They now do it without me asking. They all take their shoes and walk to the back. I mean, it took a long time, and you're going to get frustrated with how often it takes, but I feel like it is repetition, I think the more you say, like, unload the dishwasher without it being like, without negotiating, and without it being like, can you please, we wrote it down, I like wrote it down, and they now do it like, I'll do top, you do bottom. It's not like I did this, someone usually takes the top, someone usually takes the bottom, you do. They'll tell each other. You do that, I did
they
this.
want it to be fair.
Well, yeah.
Right? They don't want it. Like if I do the dishes, you have to walk the dog. And I'm kind of like, why don't you just do both? But like they need it to be fair.
They negotiate. Why not negotiate? I think it's great they're negotiating. Like they literally will be like, I'm doing top, you do bottom. I don't have to say that. They negotiated amongst themselves. Perfect. You figure out who's doing what, but like this needs to be done. And
just like anything in life, like if you ask them to do it and then they do it for a little bit and then you just keep doing it, they're going to know if they don't do it, you're going to do it. So you have to stand your ground. At first you might be like, oh, I just want to do it, but you have to be consistent.
And I think that most of them want to. Like, no, listen, want to is a big like thing, but I think most of them, when they're toddlers, they want to. They are dying to help. They love to help. They want to do it themselves. And we're like, no, because they're too slow. They don't do it right. And
you can't touch the oven. It's too hot. This is too dangerous.
And I think that once you let go and like step back, like Chloe literally made muffins by herself. She makes things, and she is 9. So I'm like, excuse me, the 9-year-old can do it. Your 13-year-old ass can do it too. Like, let's not have this like, I can't do this thing. So I think that the chores help them have purpose. And I think sometimes when we have this phone, that's a purpose for them because they don't really know what else to do, because where else do you fit if you don't have a sport and you're not in school? You're just kind of like in the family and you just feel like you're in a fight with your family. So I think bringing back some type of chores for them to do when they feel bored isn't a punishment. It's not like you have to go do this and because of this and you're on your phone too much, so you got to go do this. It's just sort of, I think that the habit, and listen, I would hate myself right now because I think it's taken me a long time to come full circle because I wanted the phone to be not a problem. I wanted the phone just to be like, my kids are different than everybody else's because I watch what they're doing and they're still on it too much. If they have free time on their phone, they could be doing something much more productive than 3 hours on their phone. They're still on their phone way too much on the weekends, but then part of me is like, you get good grades, you go to your sport, you go to bed on time. Like, where's my happy medium with you? Like, I don't want to make this evil and like I don't want to make them feel guilty for being on something and start hiding it from me. Like, I want them to have a good relationship with the phone and I want them to have a good relationship with me. I don't want to make this fucking phone and iPads and computers, when we're telling them to be on it, it's such a mind fuck. And I feel like us parents are so screwed because we're just blaming the kids and no one's talking about the big picture.
It's also so weird that the things that they need to survive and be educated and work is mixed up with social and gaming and all that, right? So like, you know what I mean? Like before you had a telephone and you had a computer and then you had a social life, because what we do with technology is we make things convenient. So we've wrapped up all these things that don't belong together into something, and we don't know how to, like, it's not easy to break them up into different categories.
And kids are less social. They're less social, which is.
I was talking, to someone about how there are, like kids getting together and everything. And I think because so many kids have so many extracurriculars in school and they're so busy that it's hard for them to have get-togethers and they live all over the city or whatever. And then it's very true that someone said, they feel like they have more friends than we had. They feel like they touch base with them all the time because
they know where everybody is all over the world.
They say happy birthday to everybody.
Oh, yeah. They have so many friends.
They have so many friends.
Snap score.
I know where you are. I know what you're doing. They know so many things about so many people that they think that they have a social life.
Well, think about this. When we see people who we've never met and they're like, I know you, and they feel like they know you and they've seen you and they just were with you, but you've never met them.
Yeah.
So adults can feel like they're connected to you without even seeing you. And you've seen those people in real life. And, I can think of a bunch of people I've only met a handful of times that we follow online that I feel like I know the personally. Intricates. Like I
know about your relationship. I know about your mom. I know about your sister. I know about your kids. I feel like I know you personally. And yes, and then they'll run into some. So we were in the airport and my daughter saw someone that knows everything about, but we're in line and we're close. And she's like nervous to say hi. It was pretty amazing. It was a really good example that the girl ended up coming up to her and being
saying
like, hi. And the girl didn't do it at first, but I guess the girl thought to herself, she was a bit older and she was probably thinking, I know her. I see her online all the time. It'd be weird if I don't just break the ice and go and do it. And I said, because a bunch of my kids were there, and I said, that was so great that she did that.
Yeah.
And it was easy.
Yeah.
And she looked brave and she looked confident and she actually came out looking great.
Yeah.
So, but it is weird.
But that's their life. And they think they're they're so dialed in and so social, but they actually don't know how to execute the social skills.
And they don't understand that actually personal connection, being with people matters.
Oh, and here's the tricky thing. The tricky thing is that that's their reality. And to teach them that they should say hi in real life is a skill that no one has lived before, and we're not teaching them. So no one's leading the way of when you see someone that you kind of know and you're not like, oh, I know that person. They'll walk by and be like, oh my God, I saw so-and-so who they probably go to the same school with. And they don't know how to say hi because that would be weird. Yeah. And you're like,
why would that be weird?
You share happy birthday because no one has taught them that it's not weird.
You know what else we were talking about is that kids think if they're on teams, I'm going to go with boys because our boys play hockey. They think that if, let's say, they go to the outdoor rink and they meet up with people and they hang out or they play sports with them, that they're actually making personal connections with them. When they're doing that, they're playing the sport. They're not having personal conversations. So every time they're out there playing sports with other boys,
they know them.
And playing sports with other boys, they think they're being social. They're actually just playing a sport.
Yeah.
They're not talking about their feelings. They're not talking about things that are going on.
But we could do that with men too.
Well, and I'm like, it's just the same. Boys never have a place where they can talk about their feelings. But I love that, if they think that they go to the ODR, outdoor rink, they think they're hanging out with friends. And that's the extent of what a lot of boys think is a connection.
Yeah.
And that is so basic.
No, it is. But who's teaching them? Nobody.
I know.
Well, because we haven't led the way. No one, because we haven't done it. So it's very I just so much of me thought I was like, okay, I think that we're just struggling as parents to really think 360. And maybe I'm alone in this, but when a lot of you were saying was I struggle because also, and I'm just going to open this up because I know a lot of people don't want to hear it, but you want your kid to be cool. Most parents want their kid to be connected, cool, and they feel like when they take away a social media app, their kids are no longer, it's social suicide. They no longer have a place to go and connect. They can't talk to their friends. And they're like, oh, what are you doing? What are you doing this weekend? What's your plan? And I think that a lot of parents, if they get really honest with themselves, they're afraid to have their kid not part of a circle or be part of that thing. So we kind of let the boundaries slip. And we're like, okay, I just think that as a whole, something's got to change. Clearly something has to change. Clearly. Because the studies just keep coming and we're all just like this. I feel like every parent's like this. Okay. Okay. So we've been dealt this hand.
It's literally it's like smoking.
Yeah. It's like they were told to smoke it in grade 5 or whatever.
But smoking was just for your physical health. Now we have the poison of nicotine mixed in with mental health
Oh my God.
all in one thing.
Oh my God. And then comparison. And then like how you feel about your own life. And then not to mention like body image. Not to mention that a lot of kids don't want to say hi to other people because they've only filtered themselves. So when they see people in real life, they actually aren't, that's not who they are. The whole thing is so fucked up. And I think as parents, we've unfortunately dropped the ball because I think most parents are like, not my kid. If your kid has a phone, yes, your kid. And I hear parents say they'll make them like delete the app. They have it hidden secret somewhere on their phone. Like maybe not all of them, but majority. I've seen way too many kids with hidden apps, or they delete it when they get home and then they put it back on when they leave the house. Like kids are not idiots. Teenagers are not idiots. You're not beating the system by telling them no.
And they're way smarter in technology than you'll ever know. And we've talked to a lot of young adults who live the teenage life where they had to hide it from their parents, and they're like, my parents had no idea. Like they'll even be like, my parent took my phone and looked over everything. They still can't find it. They still have no idea.
No, and you don't even know all the apps that are out there right now. And ironically, group chats are unhinged in the grade levels, like grade 4, 5, 6, and what they're sending. Like it is, it's crazy. And a lot of parents, they do it from their iPads. They do it from their computers. They can delete the text message, the chat, and you would never know. And they're savvy enough at 8 and 9 years old to know that something went down that they said they shouldn't have said. They've decided to delete, but they can get added back onto that chat. So I was talking to someone yesterday and they were talking about a group chat, and they're like, I don't even know how my child keeps getting added back onto the group chat. I'm like, guess what? You can go into your settings and you can block numbers of who you want them to talk to, and you can make it so it's only you like. But again, parents don't want to take the time to do that. And by the way, our guide gives you step by step how to go block the actual contact so they can't be added into an entire group chat. Like one of my kids can't even FaceTime. Like I can't even contact that person because they're not in my contacts as someone I have let them. I'm like, good.
And you know what? When she was just saying you can go block things, you think, I'm going to tell you how much fun this really is you think it's going to be a lot, and it's going to be really detailed. It's going to be really difficult. And oh my gosh, then there's context. There's
it's a lot.
So our guide makes it super easy. And when we sat down and we did all this, you are going to feel, it actually makes you feel good. Not only being amazed at the control that you can have and the things that you can do, but also feeling like
you're parenting.
I'm parenting and I have a handle on this, and I'm not just letting my kid out into the wild, wild world and just hoping that it works. You feel really good about it. And when you tell your kids, we tell them the things that we have on, they're aware that we're paying for their phone and we've given them access to their phone, and we have the right.
Yeah, well, also, I think that when you, because I don't actually believe in that theory that like I own your phone, because I think then they could just go get a job and pay for their own phone, and I would still want control over that. Like for me, because
that would never happen, so I'd never have to worry about that.
But you know what I mean? Like if they're 15, 16, I'm like, this is a habit, and I want to teach you a really good habit of how to use this, and like look at the correlation of how you feel when you're on it too much. So I'm going to teach you how to have a good relationship with this phone. Can you ever have one? I don't know, but how you feel versus how you don't feel, how it distracts you, how it doesn't distract you, how that fucking snap notification is like ding, 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 like constant, and how it's like your brain feels when you're constantly on it, having to check how many times did you pick that up to check that. And I think that if we can just have the dialogue and you can understand what's actually going on, you can hopefully teach them as they go into university and high school and college. I even said to my son, I'm like, can you imagine, because we were having the conversation, how many kids are not going to reach their potential in something they really want because they're so distracted by their phone. Like when you were bored, you'd go shoot hoops and you'd obsessively do it because there was nothing else to do. And it might lead into a passion, and then you go play pickup. Now you're going to go on your phone.
I'm curious to like the people that like first year residents and university, because we haven't been through this, what the the social dynamic is in first year university compared to when we were in first year university.
I know. Also, we know that when kids go to parties now, they all just sit on their phone.
Yeah.
We know they go to parties and they sit on their phones. Like at the party, everyone's just on the couch on their fucking phones.
So like, what is the, like from like, what are those RAs, the people that live on the floor and
residents? Yeah.
I'd be really curious. I'd love that actually, to be able to connect with one of them and say, what's it like?
I know.
Now, would an RA have the perspective, because the RA is usually only like a year older. So would they have the perspective of how it's different? You know, like it'd have to be more like an adult.
Or someone who just went through it, like at first, second, third year, but they wouldn't know.
They wouldn't know. So
know
it would
the
almost
difference.
have to be like an adult in house. Like let's say like a sorority house, and they have like moms, they're like adults, to watch over the years how it's changed. And do they still like party the same? Like, do they still go out? Do they still get together? Do they still socialize? Or do you see a lot more people staying in their rooms on their phones? Because I don't know.
I don't know either. And I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong, or I think I'm just saying, like, as I'm watching, I'm like, this conversation is so, or I'm like, are we gonna do something about this? Or are we just gonna keep talking about because I feel guilty. Like I actually do feel guilty sometimes, but it's just because the studies are telling me that it's so bad. And I'm like, okay, but hold on, let's check myself here. What are we doing? Am I doing something about it?
Yeah. And the hard part is that you're the parent. So if all of this is happening, it's happening because you allowed it. In reality.
And I did. And I have. And I would get pissed when my son wouldn't pick up his phone because there was a time he wasn't interested. And then all of a sudden, well, he's back off of it again. But there was a time when it was like, it was I couldn't get his attention. And now it's back to where he kind of ignores it.
The only people that can really probably relate in a way that, like, you and I are brothers and we weren't on video games a lot.
Yeah.
But that was something when we were growing up that there was people that like wouldn't get off and they wouldn't go to school, and they had all their friends were on the video games.
Yeah.
So they would be able to relate. Those people that were parents of those kids would be able to relate in a way, in the closest way.
And when is it a problem? Like when is everything a problem? That's the other thing I struggle with. Is it when they're not going to school? Like when is the phone a problem? Because I'm like, sounds like everything's a problem.
And it also sounds like every time we've actually had experts on it, if you are a part of the Common Parent, which you can go to commonparent.com and you can become a member. And we do have an app where there's a community in there and you have access to all the expert interviews, and you can actually select a category and go see. But all the experts that we have interviewed have said, like, what I've taken from it is if you're seeing a change in their behavior, if they're no longer socializing, if they're not sleeping, if they seem different, that's when you know. But really, kids can also be really good at hiding things.
And what makes them feel worse or good or bad, or what,
if they're smiling, but they're dealing with something really hard on the inside.
I know.
As a busy family and parent, do you really see that?
No. And you don't know what they're texting. Like you don't know what they're snapping. You just don't. Like, I'm just trying to be totally honest. Like we have no idea what's going on in Snapchat. We have a good guess, but that's how they communicate. We're not checking their snaps. Like we're not checking their message. You can see the group chats, but
and you know the other thing about just like how we're saying, like, the kids aren't, a lot of boys especially aren't having like meaningful conversations with anybody at all. If they were to be close enough to be in a relationship where it would be easier to not talk but to text them, they wouldn't dare put it in text. So people that they're actually comfortable with, that they should be talking to and maybe confiding in, that's another thing. You can't do it because who can you trust to not screen share that or whatever?
You trust nobody.
You trust nobody because you can't put it in writing. So where can you really share how you really feel? That's hard.
That is very hard.
And girls will always be like,
hopefully,
better at it than boys.
Yeah, they have a better chance of being better. They have a better chance of being better at it. But who knows with what we're doing with this new way of consuming? Like, it might change because they're all afraid to share.
Yeah, because
they've been burned by it. Like I don't know. We don't. Verdict's out. We don't know. But
if you get burned by something you put on the internet, you better believe you're never sharing again.
Also, parents who share every detail of their kid online, like they now are going to lose trust of their parent when you share, oh, they just had a breakup and they're so upset by.
I wonder if the parents who share intimate details about their kids online, if they ever have a kid being like, Mom, can you stop doing that? And they continue to do it.
Yes.
You
I mean,
think?
it's well, that's huge on the YouTube world.
And
yes.
the kids are like, please stop, Mom. Please stop.
So what we're talking about is when you film with a lot of the vloggers film every detail and then go beyond and like create situations where they make their kids upset or, like tweens and they have grown up. I have seen a lot of influencers or like people like around our age with kids, the teen years, they kind of like they're gone. Like they're no longer in the picture. But the ones who are probably are doing their own thing as like that's all they know. But I would say as we grew up and learned, as online changed so drastically, like it has changed so drastically, you will find less and less about our children because it's not like a cute community anymore where you're talking about like how to sleep train or like what to like diaper changing or like tantrums. Like no longer. It's now this disgusting cesspool sometimes
Which
of like
is
opinions.
Exactly why we had to create the common parent, because just because your kids are older, it doesn't mean you have as parents aren't dealing with issues that are even bigger than sleep training and how many ounces to eat.
I know.
Right? So where are you going to talk about it? You can't just stop talking about it. You need a safe place.
I know. And I think that we're learning and growing and changing, and I just hope that the kids don't have two personalities where it's like, this is who I am online and I don't know who I am offline. Because I think that's also a thing, is this disconnect between who they want to be, who they think they are, and then who they actually are. And we see that with filters and, personas online, and they're this thing. And then you see them in real life and you're like, and a lot of kids are like, whoa, that's not the same person. That same person is just real without a filter on their face. You know what I mean?
And try as a teen to have that perfect aesthetic that you think is real, and they have a filter on. You'll never be able in real life to look the way they look in a filter because it's not real. And that's, like,
it would be like us going online all the time, fully done by Hassan. All the time. Never not being Hassan all the time.
Oh,
Yep, but it would be like that. And then people seeing us without our makeup on and being like,
okay,
whoa.
So a woman asked me this weekend, can I ask you like a personal question? And I was like, yeah. She's like, do you feel, because she's like, oh, you look really nice. Like, did you have anything? I was like, well, I had a TV this morning. So I like better than usual. I'd done my own makeup. I didn't have anything on.
Yeah.
She was just being nice probably. And she's like, do you feel the pressure to look put together when you go out? And I was like, I actually kind of feel the opposite, because I don't feel any kind of pressure, because what our brand is to be real. And if I were to come and look perfect every time, people are like, but that's not the girl online. It's like the opposite for us.
No.
It's like the opposite for us. It's like if we're two put together, like, but I see a shit show on Insta stories. So is that fake? So it's really easy because of what we've shared in our life to just be us. And if we have a hole in our pants and our
my God,
filthy,
I had one in my app.
Relatable.
I had it on my, they're yours. The Lulus. And
don't tell me they're back here.
They're here. I threw them out.
That little hole in the back?
Yeah, I was like, I could feel my ass. I'm like, is this
How
a
did
joke?
they end up here?
I don't know.
Mark will be so happy.
I also had, maybe you have another one, but I also had holes all in Mark's. Like, you have holes all up the back of your Lulu. I'm like, how the hell are there holes? I had to throw up another pair.
So that one little hole in the top of the butt, and that is gone.
I'm pretty sure, yeah.
Or I had one,
and then I had another one that had like 3 on the back. I'm like, I am just throwing these out. How do these keep getting? I'm not going to go try to return them like everyone.
No,
they are going in the garbage because I keep putting them on.
Because the hole is so tricky. I can't see it when I'm putting them on, so it's not till I'm walking around. Someone says,
"Feel
you
your
have a
ass."
hole in your butt.
Oh, see, I feel my ass, and I'm like, "Oh, there's the hole." I just did. I was like, I wore these, and Olivia's like, "You can't really see." I'm like, "But you can see it."
Okay, I'm glad they're gone, because I definitely always intend on throwing them out, and then I forget, and then they're back on my butt.
Jeez Louise. Well, guys, that was a Monday roundup. I think that we all just need to not judge each other. Someone said, like, I'm so glad you're saying this, because I think we're thinking it, but no one's saying it, because you don't really want to be like, hi, it's me, we're the problem, but we can do this.
And half of us are ashamed of the guilt, and another half is trying to be holier than thou. But at the end, we all feel the same. We all know it.
Oh, hells yeah. Okay, we'll see y'all later.